right, let's go ahead and get things started here. This is the second, is this the second Monday? Yeah, I think it's the second Monday of the new year. And the most difficult Monday will be next week. And why? Is because that is the day where you have the most incidences of suicide or attempted suicide, the third Monday of a new year. So I like to always pay attention to that for those people that are in a depressed state. They are not where they should be mentally. They think that they've lost all hope. So before we get to that, always reach out to some. The fact that you're here and alive and still breathing means that your job is not complete. And I know how it is. I've been there before. And on a Monday morning, for a lot of people, you wake up on a brand new year. You have high hopes of making more money, changing your life, being in better relationships, have a better job, lose weight, have better health. But you feel like you're in the rat race. You wake up before the sun comes up, rush off to rush hour traffic, to go to a job you don't like, to work with people you can't stand, to eat lunch at 12 when you're hungry at 11, to ask for permission to go to the bathroom as if you are a child, only to get off of work, dead tired, to come home, do the same routine. If you're lucky enough not to get laid off or fired, you have the same job for 40 years, only to retire broke, depending on family, government, and friends by the age of 65. People are living longer now, so even if you do retire, your money runs out before your life does. It can be difficult. But that doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. Each and every single one of us can make a decision to have a change. And I'm going to tell you now, the hardest part is not taking action. The hardest part is making the decision. People are always thinking of the action before they make the decision. Just make the decision and watch how things in your life start to work out to make that reality. But you do have to take action. You just can't sit on your that things are going to change just because you want it to. You have to take action, but before you can take action, you have to make a decision so that you know where you're trying to go. That is the most difficult thing to do. Changing your mindset and mentality. Now, I don't know why I started off this way, because normally I don't. But I know how it is. The third Monday of the new year is the most difficult and the most suicide attempts, and we don't want that to happen for any of you. 60 days away from a complete turnaround. No matter what your situation is, you change your mindset and you take action. So let's talk about the crypto market today. And collectively, again, I want to wish superstar Lashana Robinson a happy birthday, 37 years old. Man, I remember I turned 37 like it was yesterday. Wow. Enjoy it, baby girl. Crypto market cap, $214 billion is the market cap for today. It is down 0.72% over the last 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance, though, has risen to 68.3%, which means that it was the altcoins that really took more of a hit. Bitcoin is sitting at 8,087, is up or down 0.1%. It's basically flatline the last 24 hours, but it is up 10% over the last 7 days. So we're in the squeeze zone. So those of you that's in Coinbit Pro, when I do my training on Thursday, we will be able to go over the week by week changes from last week. Last time I did it, Ethereum, any of the top 10 in the green. I see Tether in the green, which means the market is still going to be on the negative little slide for a bit. Bitcoin SV is up 4.9%. So that's the only top 10 coin that's really in the green. Craig Wright's coin, Bitcoin SV. Let's see some news. Radical, $10 million Bitcoin prediction. Closer than it sounds. Really? All right. You know another thing that can help depression? Always putting yourself in dream mode. You're not focused on the problems and the issues of today, but you're focused on where you're going to be and how that makes you feel. That goes back to the secret talk I did a couple of weeks ago. So I love seeing stuff like this because it puts me in dream mode. So radical $10 million Bitcoin prediction. Let's see what he has to say. Who is this at this? The Blockstream CEO, Adam Back. A co-founder of the blockchain technology startup Blockstream says the notion that Bitcoin could one day soar to $10 million isn't as crazy as it sounds. Adam Back is analyzing a thought experiment from early Bitcoin developer Hal Finney. Back in 2009, in an email chain with the anonymous Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto, Finney pondered just how high Bitcoin's price could go if you could be a fly on the wall back in those days. We're talking Bitcoin price was worth pennies back then. Pennies. 10,000 Bitcoin bought 2 pizzas. So they're thinking, they were back then in dream mode. Just, you know, shooting the breeze, having a beer, thinking about, you know, how high could this Bitcoin really go? And in their minds, they're probably thinking, well, what if it goes to $1 per coin? Nah, Hal, what if it goes to $5 per coin? Satoshi, no, man, it might go to $50 per coin. No way. No way. I can't ever see it. $50 a coin? No way. That is the conversations they were having back then. 10 years later, it almost hit $20,000 a coin. But let's go back in time. Let's see what he says. As an amusing thought experiment, imagine that Bitcoin is successful and becomes the dominant payment system in use throughout the world. Then the total value of the currency should be equal to the total value of all the wealth in the world. That's just logical. That's just logical right there. Current estimates of total worldwide household wealth that I have found range from $100 trillion to $300 trillion. With 20 million coins, that gives each coin a value of about $10 million. Okay, I gotta stop right there. I gotta put myself in dream mode, make me feel good. I have a goal of having an extra 100 Bitcoin by May. Okay, at today's price, Bitcoin is at $8,000. So, I like doing the calculator just to show. $800,000 worth of coins. What if? What if Bitcoin goes to $10 million per coin? Those same 100 coins. Good grief. That's $1 billion. What if it takes 10 years? What if it took 20 years? 20 years from now, I'll be 63 years old. Good grief, that seems old. And not that long from now. I'm still younger than my dad. My dad's 66 right now, but he's in better shape than I am. So, okay, I'm cool with that. 20 years from now, I'll be 63. And the work that I did today, over the next 4 months, can garner my family's wealth to $1 billion. You see, there's an old saying. Some people sleep like they're rich. I'm awake like I'm broke. Some of you will get that later on. I am busting my tail by any means necessary, legally, so the next 4 months, 5 months, to make this a reality. I may not, if I don't reach the goal, what if I only get 80? What if I get 50? What if I get 20? Let's say I failed by 90% and I don't get my 100 Bitcoin, but I get 10. 10 times $10 million a coin. That's still 100 million over the next 20 years. If I'm working a 9-to-5 job, what is my income going to be over the next 20 years? Still retiring broke, depending on family, government, and friends. And I'm not even 65 yet in 20 years. See, as the older I get now, the more I'm thinking about the family and legacy. You know, not necessarily about all the cool things I can buy myself, but I'm looking at the next future generations and what I can leave behind. All right, so let's continue this. According to BAC, the huge number could be realized if Bitcoin gains widespread use as a currency and if the value of the dollar significantly drops in the years and decades to come. Here's one thing that I know for sure. The value of the dollar is going to significantly drop because it always has been. The value of the dollar right now is only worth 5% of what it was 100 years ago. It's a slow bleed. That hasn't changed course in the last 3 generations. What makes you think all of a sudden now is going to change course? No, it's going to continue to drop. That's why wealthy people don't save cash. There's a huge report about Warren Buffett is killing himself right now because he's sitting on $150 billion of cash and he needs something he wants to buy something. You know, broke people are like, man, I get that kind of cash, I'm living the life. Wealthy people don't sit on cash because sitting on cash means you're losing money every day. They got to invest in it something. They got to buy something. So holding on to your cash is only going to be a negative. It's going to lose value. So that is a fact. If Bitcoin gains widespread use as a currency, though, that, however, is not a fact. As a matter of fact, I don't believe it will be. I don't believe that Bitcoin is going to be that worldwide currency that's being used for day-to-day transactions like the US dollar. I believe that it's going to end up being the store of value like gold. It'll be the digital version of gold. It will still have widespread use as a asset, not as currency. Because think about this. Who in the world is going to be trying to sell their Bitcoin when that sucker's worth $50,000, $100,000 and more? It's like art. But anyways, I think it's going to be another coin. Some people are saying it probably might be Ripple. Or it might be one of the digital coins. Here's something I could see. What's that organization called? Christine Lagarde is. Good grief, it's slipping my tongue here. But anyways, the monetary I can't remember. IMF, International Monetary Fund. I believe ultimately, as they start to see more countries start to create their own digital coins, I think that the IMF and the World Bank is going to create one world digital currency that they all sign off on and agree to. That's not going to be controlled by any one government, but by the whole conglomerate. Like the same way that Facebook tried to create the Libra. I think the governments of the world are going to do this for self-preservation. There's only one problem they have to overcome, is that the world's governments are not united. You've got half the world is against the West and vice versa. The West wants to throw sanctions on everybody else. The other world saying, screw the US dollar. So something catastrophic is going to happen like a World War III. The same way how the United Nations was born after World War II. Something's going to happen that the entire rest of the governments will agree on a digital coin as a world's reserve currency. It will not be crypto. It will not be Bitcoin. It will be controlled. I can see that taking place. So says back, it's closer than it sounds as along the path of hyper-Bitcoinization. Hyper-Bitcoinization. That's a term I am not familiar with. Let me read that again. It's closer than it sounds as along the path of hyper-Bitcoinization. The US dollar inflation rises, aided by modern monetary theory rationale for high inflation, so $1 becomes worth, say, 10 cents over a decade or two of monetary craziness. Then $10 million worth of Bitcoin is $1 million of Bitcoin in today's money. And $100,000 in Bitcoin doesn't seem so far, given we already crossed 10,000 threshold a few times, when few expected even $1,000 some years back, and 10K seemed crazy. Can you imagine this? 2009, Satoshi, Hal Finney, Craig Wright, all those early guys sitting around drinking a beer. Hey man, how you think Bitcoin's going to go? $5? No way. Maybe $2. And then someone else says, no, I'll up you one. I say it's going to go $50. Really? Shut the front door. No way. And then a drunk Satoshi says, no. I think it might hit $10,000. You can see all their mouths just drop. $10,000 a coin. That same conversation 10 years later is right now. What if it hits $10 million a coin? It no longer sounds crazy. You just do the numbers. Math doesn't lie. The numbers are the numbers. As for the here and now, analysts are looking to see if Bitcoin can hold on to its recent gains. No, its recent gains were artificial. It's a result of us blowing up the Iranian general. Trader Jacob Canfield says he's not prepared to be bullish on Bitcoin until the leading crypto can cross $8,500. He's not prepared to be bullish on Bitcoin. No. See, every trader has their own. Here's what I say bullish run happens. 3 criteria for a bull run to be taking place. The crypto market cap needs to be over 300 billion. Bitcoin dominance needs to be around 50 to 55%. And Bitcoin itself needs to be over $10,000. If all 3 things happen at the same time, then I'll say we're on a bull run right now on the crypto market. That hasn't happened since 2017, all 3 criteria at the same time. So no, we're not there yet. Just because it hits 8,500 doesn't mean we're in a bull run. That's a good question. Core says, what if 1 Satoshi equals $1? And I forgot the numbers of that. I think that if 1 Satoshi equals $1, that means that all the Bitcoin is worth the same amount of all the money supply. That's why they created it that way, of 8 decimal points. If 1 Satoshi is worth $1, imagine what one Bitcoin is worth. I forgot the amount. I think that is that $10 million range. So if Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin is worth 10 million, 1 Satoshi is worth $1. That's crazy. That's why you guys gotta, those of you that listen to the Up to Give Academy presentations that I do, and I always talk about, if you're brand new to Bitcoin and you don't understand what 0.01, 0.05, 0.16, all of that stuff means, get used to that. Just like an elementary school kid learning how to count coins, counting nickels and dimes and quarters and stuff, what that adds up to. You're going to have to learn this new measurement. That you don't have to own one whole Bitcoin. Pieces of a Bitcoin is called Satoshi. We just don't use that term yet, but it will be. All right. Oh, wow. I said all that. Let me finish this article up. Okay, that one's done. I like that. It's always good to dream every now and then. Somebody the other day tried to fault me for dreaming. Tried to make fun of me for dreaming. I don't know if it was, I don't remember what I was talking about. I think I was talking about what I think the future is going to hold with the Fed coin. But if you don't dream, you're not going anywhere. Dreaming allowed me to walk off my job. Dreaming allowed me to earn 7 figures. Dreaming allowed me to work from home and live a flip-flop lifestyle, come and go as I please. See my kid at school, you know, every time I go to a PTA meeting or a school event for my kid, as a black male, I'm looked upon like I'm a unicorn. They've never seen that before. Always that. What do you do? You have a job, right? Yeah, I don't have a job. I work from home. It's a lifestyle. It's a blessing, but you got to dream. All right, late night host Stephen Colbert torches Bitcoin in bad, good publicity blitz. Bitcoin just made the cut on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert again. In a roundup of shots on Donald Trump's golf carts, Elizabeth Warren's dating advice, and Eric Trump's taxpayer-footed visit to Uruguay, Colbert made room to rip Bitcoin. And Kalai, that's not something that I say to brag, because it's not about me. What I represent is what anybody can have, because I'm still not satisfied where I am. I still have a lot of growth to go. I still have a lot to learn. I still have a lot more progress to be made. I'm not satisfied, but I am grateful. I am thankful. I am appreciative. Good morning, Calais. So, folks, what does Stephen Colbert have to say? Folks, I spend a lot of time right over there panning in the river of news for the biggest, shiniest gold news nuggets to put in my monologue. But once in a while, I like to scrap together a bunch of old, stolen computers, throw them in a basement with an illegal hookup to the municipal power supply, and mine for Bitcoin, which I use to form the black market fiat currency of news that is my segment. For crypto enthusiasts hoping mainstream audiences will be exposed to coverage about Bitcoin is a viable non-sovereign currency instead of lapping up the Bitcoin is for criminals. Line. The King coin hasn't been able to catch a break from Colbert since the comedian bashed it 2 months ago. Averaging 3.81 million viewers, Stephen Colbert, who inked a new deal through 2023, he should have inked that new deal in crypto, tops the late show's ratings, outperforming the Tonight Show's 2.44 million and Jimmy Kimmel's Live 2.04 million. In November, Colbert characterized Bitcoin, known for its cryptography, complexity, and volatility, as a blockchain-based snooze fest. He said, let's see, places I'd rather be than a Trump rally off the top of my head, the DMV, the dentist, someone else's child clarinet recital, a Soviet gulag, covered with honey and staked on an anthill, sliding down a 50-foot razor blade into a bathtub of gin, and in conversation with someone that knows a lot about Bitcoin. Go on and go on about blockchain. You haven't listened to me, Stephen Colbert. I try to make it fun, and I'm not those nerds. You know, it's one thing I hate about blockchain expos. And you know, the birthday girl, Lashana was with me at one. And you sit there in the crowd, Diana too, she heard this. These nerds on the stage, these so-called blockchain Bitcoin experts, and they go on, and they're talking about scalability, and they're talking about hash rate, and they're talking about the fork and the miner's rewards and consensus and all these words that 99% of the people in the crowd don't know what in the world they're talking about. It is boring as all hell. I'm sitting there listening to them like, what the heck? No wonder why ain't nobody in this room. Nobody knows what you're talking about. But it's insider language. It's like if you ever was an outsider listening to gamers talking about video games to each other, or if you're not a sports person and you're listening to three people talking about sports or politics, you know, they're in their own club. I try to make it, anytime I talk about Bitcoin and blockchain, I got to do it in a way that my mom can understand. If my mom can't understand it, I'm not doing something right. And I use my mother all the time. I talk to her all the time. So I share stuff with her just to see if she can understand it. And if she doesn't, I switch it up. But there's no such thing as bad publicity. The simple fact that he's even mentioning Bitcoin, 3.1 or 8 million people heard it. That's all that matters. Bitcoin has continued its bouncy ride into 2020, defying pundits and skeptics who have declared the cryptocurrency dead over 379 times. It's the best performing asset of the decade by far. Haters. After starting the year at 7,200, Bitcoin is now trading at 8,100, up 13%. All right. You know, the first time, when I started to see a lot of mainstream mention of Bitcoin was back in 2017. Ellen DeGeneres had, what's that guy's name? He was married to Demi Moore. Oh, Ashton Kutcher was really behind Ripple, and he was on the show talking about it. And then the Big Bang Theory around December 2017, I think it was November, December, they did a show. The whole show was based on Bitcoin. Like they realized its value, and then they remembered that they mined it like 8 years ago, and they were on the search to find the laptop with all the Bitcoin on it. You know, that's when Bitcoin was shooting through the moon, and people that were involved with it years ago were like, oh man, I got to go find my old Bitcoin. Because back then it was worth pennies, and now all of a sudden it's worth 15,000. Okay, next article up. We're going to go with geopolitics. Crypto Insider says Venezuela is on pace to lead merchant adoption as Bitcoin trading volume sets new record. You know, there's a movie called, wow, what is the movie called? Bitcoin? I think that's the name of the movie. I think there was a movie called Bitcoin. Hollywood did. I watched, I think, the first 15 minutes and fell asleep on it. I never went back to finish it. But you start seeing movies and TV shows that mentioning Bitcoin. There was another movie I never watched. It was like about a gang Atlanta, and he had the funny hair, and he made his money, or he was doing transactions in Bitcoin. Dr. Lewis always calling me when I'm doing a crypto talk. Never fails. He's calling me right now. What show was that on Netflix? The very first video I ever saw in detail about Bitcoin was called Banking on Bitcoin on Netflix. I saw it November 2016. Banking on Bitcoin. That was the introduction to, you want to know what it's all about, the early days of crypto. If you haven't seen that, I would strongly advise it, because a lot's changed in the last, since that movie or documentary has been made. Banking on Bitcoin on Netflix. All right, let's go with Venezuela. Venezuela could become ground zero in the push for widespread adoption of cryptocurrency. There are now over 1,000 merchants accepting crypto payments in the South American country, according to the team behind the digital asset Dash. Oh yeah, I've seen that one too. Introduction to Bitcoin. That's on YouTube. While the number accounts for fewer than 1% of all retail stores in Venezuela, crypto insider Ernesto Contreras expects crypto usage at retail locations in the country to soar to 10% by the end of 2020, and estimates that $25 million worth of crypto will be involved in retail transactions every year. This is in Venezuela, mind you, and you have to understand why. That is, thank you, Barbara. It was Superfly. I never saw that. I guess one night when I'm really bored, I got to see something. I'll watch Superfly. I just couldn't get over his hair. But that's the ATL. What can you expect? In Venezuela, cryptocurrency can now be paid at Burger King in Venezuela. In addition to Bitcoin, payments are accepted in Ethereum, Litecoin, Binance Coin, Dash, and Tether stablecoin. The analyst projections are based on the following factors. Large retailers in the country are poised to include crypto as a payment option. The government pays wages using the cryptocurrency Petro, which encourages people to learn more about crypto. And Venezuelans are seeing the cost-saving and convenience benefits of cryptocurrencies. Venezuelans are also trading increasing amounts of Bitcoin. Bitcoin trading volume on the peer-to-peer platform, Local Bitcoins in Venezuela, just printed a fresh all-time high. According to data tracker coin.dan's, Bitcoin volume climbed by over 38% from 263.3 billion Venezuelan bolivar to 363.4 billion for the week ending January 11th. Says Eduardo Gomez, head of support at Purse.io. The Venezuelan-Colombian border is a melting pot where Bitcoin is being used for what it is, an unstoppable, permissionless store of value. Lots of things are happening there. I'm going to quote that. And the reason why is because most people, especially Americans, can care less what's going on in Venezuela or Colombia. However, the governments of the world are paying close attention, especially Russia. Russia is using Venezuela as a guinea pig, as a test subject, to see what happens when society breaks down, what happens when the economy breaks down, what's the behavior of people, how will they use or interact with cryptocurrencies or a digital coin? What could the governments do to stave off anything? Because what's happening in Venezuela is not a matter of if that can happen here. It's a matter of when and how will we respond to it. One thing I am confident that the United States will respond better than the way Venezuela did, but it ain't going to be easy. Let's not forget, we did go through the Great Depression. In my master's course, I did a whole dissertation on that era of education during that time, where really education almost came to a halt because kids couldn't afford to be in class all day. They needed to go out there and earn money for the family, and most of it was through begging. If you don't know your history, go back to that time. We went through the Roaring 20s. You know why it's called the Roaring 20s? And why people are calling this now, this decade is going to be the Roaring 20s. We came off of World War I, and our economy was booming in the 20s. It was booming until it wasn't. And we went in the complete opposite economic meltdown. And American society collapsed almost. Google it if you don't know anything about that. You just may hear about the Great Depression, but study what led up to it. And then study how did the people survive during that time. My grandmother is 96 years old, and pray for my family. She just had her birthday last month, and it was the last time we got all the family together. And this is, for example, my cousin Marnita, who's on here, her grandmother's big sister. And we can no longer care for her at home. You know, it's very trying. But the things that she has seen in her life, she was born, I think, she's 96, so we could go back through the math, 1923, I think, or something. But the things that she's seen, and she lived through, I think, during the Great Depression, she was in Shreveport, Louisiana. And then part of her family moved to Texas. And then her and my grandfather moved from there to California, Compton, California. Jesse Lee Robinson from Shreveport, Louisiana. And my grandmother, Laverta Smith Robinson. But anyways, that wasn't that long ago. Now, one thing I asked my grandma back about that when I was doing my research is she said because they were already poor, it really didn't impact them that much because they were already poor and they knew how to survive. They grew their own food. She did say the most difficult was the fact, as far as African Americans during that time, depending on where you lived, was that the little bit of jobs that was available to them were no longer available. And that the racists during that time were even more difficult because they were struggling and weren't used to it. So they were even more cruel and vicious on African Americans. She did talk about that a little bit, but that's all she shared. She didn't really get into too much details. But anyways, if you think that it can't happen here, it already has. This is why I believe in what Jim Rohn says, building a financial wall around your family so high that nothing can penetrate it. We cannot depend on the government. We cannot depend on the president. We cannot depend on the US dollar and the economy. We have to be in a position that we can take care and be self-dependent, independent. All right, next up. The Chinese. The Chinese are moving full steam ahead. And it's not the Titanic navigating icebergs. They are full steam ahead in uncharted territory. Chinese telecom giant preps for digital economy. See, this is what I'm talking about. See, if you have a government that is supporting fintech industry, innovation, then the businesses will come up. Let me read this quote. In October of 2019, President Xi Jinping announced that China would embrace blockchain across all industries in a mission to become the world leader in its deployment, calling the technology an important breakthrough. Xi has mandated that countries' business leaders mandated it to use it to enhance processes related to finance, the improvement of mass transit, and the alleviation of poverty. And that quote was just done a couple months ago. And here we are, Chinese telecom giant is preparing for digital economy powered by 5G and blockchain. I don't know about that 5G, but I understand the blockchain. What if our president came out and said something like that? What would our business leaders and business community be doing right now? Chinese telecom giant Unicom is gearing up for the arrival of the 5G era. As reported by China News Network, the firm's general manager, Qin Jiashun, hopes that the emergence of blockchain, Internet of Things, and other digital technologies will push China to become, what? A global leader. See, we're starting to see this trend all over the place in China. Everything that they say dealing with this, here's what the president said, to become the world leader. So the president of China says world leader. The Chinese top telecom company says global leader. Says Jiashun, the advent of the 5G era has brought many disruptive. What did I find out? May 2017, blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet today. Why are they using the same words I've been using for years? Because it's not me making things up. Just like I taught when I did The Secret. People, oh, Brandon, that was so great. You're awesome. Hey, it's not my information. I'm not the one that's awesome. I just took the information and I utilized it. I didn't make it up. It's not my words. It's what I learned sharing it through my point of view. I figured it out. Blockchain is going to disrupt the entire industry, not because I think so, because it is. Last year, Jusix reported that China Unicom's Internet of Things division and Wanzhong Blockchain announced their partnership through the formation of the IoT and Blockchain Joint Innovation Center. Present at the signing ceremony, Ji Hongjung, the Chief Operating Officer of Platon, a high-efficiency, trustless cryptocurrency computing network, explained why blockchain is an integral part of the 5G rollout. Okay, pay close attention here. I'm about to learn something new here. I'm on the edge of my seat with this. When we talk about 5G, we are just talking about a new generation network that is able to transmit data with a much higher speed and lower latency compared to 4G network. Okay, well, yeah, can you do that without frying our brains, giving our bodies cancer? Anyway, that's another topic. The security issue within the connections is one of the most compelling reasons to utilize blockchain, because blockchain is designed as a basis for applications that involve in transaction and interaction. Thus, blockchain is the answer to Internet of Things challenges. Stop right there. Hold up. This is important. Every successful business is having success because they solve a problem. If you want to be successful in your business, find out the problem that people have and solve it. Sell the solution, not the product. So the Internet of Things has major challenges, just like the banking sector, the financial sector, the transfer sector, finances. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, all have a challenge. The internet can only do so much. If you watch that movie Ready Player One, they took it to the next level, but that would have only been possible with blockchain technology. See, Ready Player One is not that you're just in and playing in a virtual reality, but you own things in virtual reality. You make purchases with real money in virtual reality. You can own a whole freaking planet on that. But how do you enforce ownership? You need something like the blockchain that can record all of that. It cannot be tampered with. It cannot be hacked. It cannot be changed. It cannot be disputed. The blockchain is what's going to make the next generation of all technology possible. Artificial intelligence. If you go to a blockchain expo, you're not just going to see crypto or Bitcoin. You're going to see IoT, Internet of Things, virtual reality, augmented reality, distributed ledger technology, and crypto. Now, let's back up to what Warren Buffett has been saying for the last couple of years, that Bitcoin is rat poison squared and is not going to go anywhere and it's a Ponzi scheme. But then he turns around and invests $250,000 in fintech technology. Do you know what fintech technology is? That's the Internet of Things, which includes blockchain technology. So he's also not stupid. He's just not letting you know what he's doing. But this is important. Blockchain is the answer. That's all that needs to be said. Right there. The future of technology, blockchain is the answer. I'm going to quote that just like that and just leave it up. People are going to be like, freak out and be like, what? What is Brandon saying? Watch this. What does that mean? Just blockchain is the answer. Gotta be a cooler background than that. Where's my all black? I'll use fire. That's it. Blockchain is the answer. The Chinese have figured it out. The Russians have figured it out. America, not yet, unfortunately. All right, everybody. That is it for Crypto Talk. I hope you learned something new. As always, that is the point. We are 3 days away from the official launch of the Up to Give Academy. If you're not involved, well, you're missing out. If you have signed up and done absolutely nothing, well, you're missing out. Like I said at the beginning, some people sleep like they're wealthy. I'm awake like I'm broke. All out by any means necessary, because this point in history is not going to come around again. You know, I did have this discussion with another person that's very, very deep into crypto, and he's a nerd, and he understands the nerd talk. Do you know that the blockchain as we know it right now is already obsolete? That there is already better technology that makes the blockchain look like AOL dial-up? Oh yeah, it is already in existence. The people just don't know about it yet because they're just trying to figure out about blockchain. It's just the next evolution of it. The future is upon us right now. And what we do today is going to determine our family's history for the next 100 years. And I'm so confident saying that I'm saying it on record because what I'm saying is being recorded. My grandchildren will be able to hear what I said in January 2020. What is your grandchildren or great-grandchildren going to say about you and what you were doing January 2020? Did you take advantage of this or were you a spectator? There's going to be, I'm doing a presentation tonight, the Up to Give Academy, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 3 days away from launch. But everyone's also been asking about the international company. That, I mean, I don't know what to say. I've been talking about that since November, actually October. I haven't been able to engage because I'm in America, but I am looking for people international. They're on pace right now to have 3 million individuals by the summertime and 10 million by the end of the year without the United States of America. It is blowing my mind. I'm so glad I listened to Peter Blackwell and got positioned when I did. To America. Oh, you're going to be hearing me talk a whole lot more about it here in the United States, but I am building internationally. So Peter does that presentation at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. I'm handling for our team the Up to Give Academy, and Peter is handling that for our team. So anyways, it's an exciting time. Let's not just sit back and do nothing. Let's take action. Let's be productive. Take care, everybody. God bless. Bitcoin Brandon out. Bye-bye.